In the cold silence of deep space, a small human scout ship drifted through the stars. Its name was Hope Seeker, and it was searching for signs of life in a forgotten sector of the galaxy. Captain Ryland sat in the control chair, eyes fixed on the black screen. Nothing had changed for days. Just stars, silence, and space dust. Then it happened. "Captain!" shouted Ensign Maya. Her voice broke the silence. "I picked up a signal. It's an old Earth frequency." Ryland turned sharply. "That's impossible. No colony was ever recorded out here." "But it's human, sir. Very old. Broken. But definitely human." Ryland stood up and walked to the console. A weak signal repeated on a loop. "We endure. We adapt. We remember." Over and over. He frowned. "Plot a course. We're going in." The Hope Seeker turned toward the source of the signal. A dark planet floated in the distance. It looked dead. No lights, no cities, no energy signature. But the signal came from there. As they entered orbit, the ship shook slightly. The atmosphere was dense and filled with electromagnetic clouds. "I'm seeing structures," Maya whispered. "They're old, but not abandoned." Captain Ryland narrowed his eyes. "Send a landing team. I want to see it with my own eyes." The shuttle landed in a wide green valley surrounded by tall cliffs. Strange purple trees swayed in the wind. The air was heavy, but breathable. As the team stepped out, they saw something unbelievable. Humans. A group of people stood in the distance. Men, women, even children. They wore strange clothes made from alien materials. Their skin tones were unusual. Some had faint blue, green, or silver markings. A tall woman stepped forward. Her hair was glowing white, her eyes purple like stars. "You're human?" Captain Ryland asked. The woman smiled gently. "Yes, we are. But not only." "What do you mean?" She raised her hand and pointed to the sky. "Long ago, our ship crashed here. We were alone. No rescue came. But we were not the only ones on this world. The natives, the aliens, they helped us survive. And with time, we became one." The landing team stood frozen. Ryland had heard rumors of human-alien unions in old space tales, but this was real, right in front of them. "We've lived in peace here for over 200 years, she continued. "We call ourselves the Bound, bound by love, bound by survival." Maya whispered to Ryland. "Their DNA must have mixed. Generations of hybrid children." Just then, a young girl ran up to them. She looked 10 years old. Her ears were long and small glowing spots ran along her neck, but she smiled just like a human child. "Are you from the stars?" she asked. "Yes," Ryland replied gently. "We are explorers." "Do you still have ice cream in the stars?" The team laughed softly, but Ryland's mind was racing. Back aboard the Hope Seeker, Ryland sat in his quarters. The logs from the colony were clear. The crash happened 213 years ago. No help ever came. The humans married into alien tribes. Together they survived diseases, predators, and storms. Over time their bloodlines became one. "Captain," Maya said, entering quietly. "They want to show us their main settlement. It's built with alien technology and human design." Ryland nodded. "Good. But keep scanning the skies. If we found them, others might too. And not everyone will be kind." But far above the planet, hidden behind a moon, another ship was watching. A silent observer. Its hull bore the symbol of the Galactic Purity Order, a cold, ruthless force that believed in genetic separation, pure species only, no mixing, no hybrids. A voice crackled on their bridge. "Sir, the rumors were true. The human-alien hybrids exist." "Orders?" A dark figure stepped into the light. "Prepare the report. We will return with fire." Back on the surface, the children of the Bound played under two suns, unaware of the shadow growing beyond the stars. And thus, the lost colony was no longer lost. But now it was in danger. Captain Ryland stood in silence as the alien-human woman guided them through a large stone gate. Inside the valley, the settlement was alive. Homes carved into glowing cliffs, floating lights hanging in the air, and people walking together in peace. But something still felt strange, too quiet, like the place held secrets. "You said your ancestors crashed here," Ryland said, walking beside the tall woman. "But how did they survive the first contact? Aliens don't usually welcome strangers." The woman stopped beside a pool of still blue water. Her reflection shimmered beside his. "Because one man broke all the rules," she said softly, "and one alien princess broke hers too." She motioned for him to sit and began to tell the forgotten history. 200 years ago, the crash was brutal. The human colony ship Terra Spark fell from orbit like a dying star. Half the crew died on impact. Survivors built fires, ate what they could, and prepared to die slowly. But they weren't alone. The native aliens, tall, scaled, and fierce-looking, appeared from the forests. Their weapons were strange and humming. The humans held up their hands. They had no strength left to fight. One man stepped forward, Commander Elias Monroe. He dropped his only weapon and fell to his knees. "I come in peace," he had said. The aliens didn't kill him. Instead, one stepped forward from their group. She was unlike the rest, smaller, elegant, wearing a crown of bone and crystal. She was Princess Circa, heir to the ruling tribe. They should have hated each other, the woman told Ryland now, but they didn't. As weeks passed, Circa visited the human camp again and again. She watched how Elias cared for his injured crew, how he worked without sleep, how he shared his own food with the children. One night, a sickness spread through the alien village. No cure worked, but the humans had something old, basic Earth antibiotics. Elias offered it to them without asking for anything in return. Circa's younger brother was saved. From that day, the humans were no longer outsiders. But it didn't end there, she continued, her eyes glowing faintly. Circa chose Elias as her bondmate. A scandal for her people, a shock for his. Ryland raised an eyebrow. That must have caused problems. She smiled. It caused a war. Circa was cast out. Her own kind branded her as a traitor. Elias was called reckless. But together, they ran into the wild jungles and built a hidden life. 1 year later, their first child was born, a girl with smooth skin, glowing eyes, and a voice that calmed animals. She was the first of the bound, the woman said, looking at Ryland, and I am her great-granddaughter. Ryland sat quietly. He had seen war, death, politics, but never something like this. Two beings from opposite worlds risking everything for a future that didn't even exist yet. And now that future was standing beside him, alive and thriving. But not all the alien tribes accepted them, she added darkly. Some still hide in the shadows. They believe our blood is cursed, that no child of two worlds should live. Ryland stood slowly, and now the galaxy knows you exist. She nodded. Yes, and not everyone will understand, or forgive. Just then, a young hybrid boy ran up to them. He held a piece of old metal, shaped like a badge, human military design. Ryland took it, in shock. This belonged to Elias Monroe. The boy grinned. I found it in the mountains. There's a cave full of human things, old tech, even a broken robot. Ryland's mind spun. That meant there was still more. Old Earth tech, records, maybe even messages Elias left behind. As the sun set behind the purple cliffs, Ryland looked out at the village of peaceful hybrids. They survived, he whispered. Not just the crash, but everything. He didn't say what he was truly thinking. But can they survive what's coming next? Far above, the shadow ship of the Galactic Purity Order had moved closer, and the countdown had begun. The stars blinked in silence, watching a world that should have never survived. But deep inside the cliffs of that strange green valley, children laughed. Captain Ryland stood on a high balcony of the settlement, staring down at the schoolyard below. Dozens of hybrid children ran, played and trained. Some floated small stones with their minds. Others ran faster than any human child. One girl painted shapes in the air. Light followed her fingers like magic. They were born from love, said the woman beside him. Her name was Selene, great-granddaughter of Elias and Circa. But they grew up in fear. Fear? Rylan asked. Of what? Of being hunted. Of being seen. Rylan turned to her. Why would anyone fear these children? Selene's face became serious. Because they're not just children. They're proof that the galaxy's rules can be broken, that species can mix and create something greater. Inside the learning chamber, 12-year-old Nira sat quietly. She was different, even among hybrids. Her hair shifted color with her mood. Her thoughts could sometimes enter the minds of others. And worse, she could feel what others felt. Today, her hands were shaking. She saw a new face in the colony, a visitor, someone from the stars. And inside his heart she felt fire and guilt. She whispered to her friend, "One of them is not who he says he is." Back in the scout ship, Hope Seeker, hidden under the cover of night, Ensign Cal Devrin opened a secure channel. "This is Agent K. I've confirmed the existence of multiple hybrids, some with advanced neural abilities." The voice on the other side was cold. "And the threat level? Unknown, but rising." One girl looked straight into my eyes. I think she saw something. Return with samples or intelligence. Purity Order is watching. Cal ended the call and closed the device. He didn't notice that Nira, far across the village, sat up in bed. Her eyes were glowing silver. She had heard everything. The next morning, Selene took Rylan to the Hall of Memory. There, carved into the stone walls, were glowing symbols, part human language, part alien script. "These are the names of the first children," she said, "born when no one believed such a thing was possible." One name stood out, Cale Monroe, the son of Elias and Circa. "He led the next generation," she said, "taught them to use their gifts but also to stay hidden." Rylan traced the name with his fingers. "They don't look like soldiers." "They're not," she replied. "They're builders, dreamers, healers." Then her voice lowered. "But if the galaxy forces them to choose, they will defend their home." That night, something changed. A bright flash lit the skies above the valley. A small probe dropped from orbit and exploded in the forest nearby. "Attack? No." A warning. Selene called an emergency meeting with the village leaders. Rylan stood by listening as panic spread. "If the Purity Order knows we're alive, they'll come with ships. They'll take our children." Suddenly, young Nira walked into the room. Her voice was calm but cold. "They already sent one of their spies." The crowd froze. All eyes turned to her. She pointed at Cal Devrin. "He wants to hurt us, but I heard his heart. He doesn't really want to." Cal stood frozen, his cover broken. I didn't mean to," he began. Selene stepped forward. "You lied to us." "Why?" He looked at the children in the room, some hiding behind their mothers, some standing proudly. "I was told you were monsters, experiments, mistakes," he said. "But you're not, you're just people." Rylan spoke now. "Then help us stop what's coming." Cal looked down and made a choice. In the shadows of the orbiting enemy ship, a new message was sent. Target confirmed. Begin cleansing. Protocol. Far below, unaware of the doom falling from the sky, a hybrid child laughed for the last time. But this generation was not weak. They were born from two worlds, and they were ready to fight for both. The village was no longer peaceful. The truth was out. Ensign Cal Devrin, once trusted as part of the human scout crew, had been a spy, a silent blade hidden in plain sight, and now everyone looked at him, with fear and betrayal. Cal stood alone in a small holding room inside a stone tower. The walls were alive with faint alien energy. He couldn't escape even if he wanted to. He didn't. Outside, Captain Rylan paced in frustration. He admitted everything, he told Selene. He was reporting to the Galactic Purity Order. And now they're coming. Seleni's face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Then we have no time left. The children need to be moved. Hidden. She shook her head. No. They need to learn what's coming. This is their home. They were born here. They should not run. Inside his cell, Cal stared at his shaking hands. He remembered what the order had told him. They are unnatural. Dangerous, kill if needed. But then he had seen the children. Laughing, singing, learning. They weren't monsters, they were innocent. Smarter, yes. Different, yes. But not evil. And Nira, the girl who had looked into his heart and seen the storm inside. She hadn't exposed him in anger. She had spoken with calm. He doesn't really want to hurt us, she had said. Why? A soft knock broke his thoughts. The door opened slowly. It was Nira. She walked in alone, holding something in her hand. A small book, handwritten, leather cover. This belonged to Cale Monroe, she said, the son of Elias and Circa. Cal blinked. Why are you giving it to me? Because he was once like you. Afraid, confused, lost between two paths. She placed the book in his lap and turned to leave. Cal opened the first page. It read, I was born between stars and soil, between peace and fire. And I choose peace, even if peace must be defended. His hands tightened on the book. Meanwhile, in the village council hall, Rylan called a meeting. The order is sending a warship, he said. They'll arrive in 3 days. Panic filled the room. Some parents cried, some shouted, but one elder spoke calmly. We knew this day would come. The question is not if they attack. The question is, what will we teach our children to do? Selene stood. They've trained, they've studied, but they've never had to fight. And we do not want war. Rylan nodded. But we must prepare for one. That night Cal sat in the shadows holding Cale's journal close. Footsteps approached. It was Captain Rylan. I should hate you, Rylan said flatly. You put this colony in danger. Cal didn't respond. But instead, Rylan continued, I'm asking if you're still willing to fight. Cal looked up, eyes heavy with guilt. Not as a spy, as someone who now understands. Rylan threw him a small device, a wrist controller. Then start by helping us disable the satellite. They'll use to locate the children. Cal nodded slowly. I'll need a team. Rylan smirked. You'll get one. The next morning, a small group moved quietly through the cliffs. Cal, Rylan, Selene, and 2 hybrid teens with cloaking powers. They reached the edge of the forest, where the satellite drone hovered high in the sky. Cal took a breath. This is my mess, he whispered. Let me be the one to clean it. He stepped forward, arms raised. A red beam shot from the drone, scanning him. The others tensed. But Cal kept walking calm. Then he threw a small EMP grenade into the air. Boom! The drone sparked, twitched, and fell from the sky like a dying bird. Back at the village, the children cheered. Nira watched from the rooftops, her eyes bright. For the first time, she saw something else inside Cal Devrin. Change. Not forced, not fake, but real. Selene watched, too, and said softly, Perhaps the galaxy isn't ready for us. Rylan stood beside her. Then we'll make it ready. But far above, the Order's ship was already on its way, and they were bringing fire. The sky burned red, not from fire, but from the engines of a warship. It hovered above the valley like a giant metal shadow, blocking out the sun. Its shape was cold, sharp, and cruel, designed to make anyone below feel small. Children stopped playing. Elders looked up with quiet fear. Selene stood at the edge of a cliff, her jaw tight. They found us. In the center of the village, a giant hologram came to life. It showed a tall alien in silver armor, his face pale and stern. Behind him stood officers in black, each with the same mark on their chest, the symbol of the Galactic Purity Order. The voice was loud, cold, and without mercy. To the hybrids and the humans who protect them, This colony is in violation of Genetic Law 14A. You have 48 hours to surrender all hybrid offspring for containment. Refusal will result in total extermination. The hologram ended. Silence followed. Then came the panic. In the meeting hall, voices clashed like swords. They'll kill us all. We must surrender the children. At least some. Just to buy time. No, never. Captain Ryland banged his hand on the table. Enough, we are not giving up a single child. Cal Devrin stood beside him now, not as a spy, but as a protector. They will attack with full force. If we want to survive, we need a plan they won't expect. Celine rose to her feet. Then we show them what our children can do. Hidden, beneath the cliffs, the colony's oldest secret was finally revealed, a place called the Heart Chamber, built by Elias Monroe and Circa in the early days. Here the first hybrid children trained in silence, far from any scanner or spy. In the center stood an ancient human beacon, still glowing. Around it were weapons, shields, and knowledge stored from Earth, mixed with alien crystals that could power minds, not just machines. Nira and 10 other hybrid teens stood there now. This is why we were trained, she said. Not to destroy, but to protect. Above the planet, inside the Order's warship, Commander Valek paced the bridge. Why haven't they responded? He barked. They're ignoring the ultimatum, sir, his officer said. No surrender signal. Valek sneered. Then we make an example. He pointed to the screen. Target the river bridge. Destroy it. Show them what we can do. The ship's weapon systems charged. Down below, the bridge exploded in a thunderous flash. Water sprayed high into the air. The valley shook. 2 children were caught near the blast, injured but alive. Hybrid teens rushed to pull them to safety. Healers used their powers. Glowing hands pressed to wounds. The message was clear. The Order was done talking. That night, under cover of darkness, the UA villagers gathered in the center square. Torches lit up the stone walls. Captain Ryland stood on a platform with Celine and Cal at his sides. They gave us 48 hours. We used the first 24 to mourn, he said loudly. Now we use the next 24 to prepare. Celine raised her hand. We are the bound. We were born from love, not war. But love must now protect what it created. Cal stepped forward. I once served the enemy. I know how they think. They expect you to beg, to break. So let's show them what they don't expect. In the shadows, Nira and her group formed a circle. They placed their hands on the ground. The stones began to hum. The air around the village shimmered, energy rising like heat. A shield, not made of machines, but mind and heart. Let them come, Nira whispered. Far above, Commander Valek received a report. Sir, their children have formed a psychic barrier, unknown energy type. We can't penetrate, Valek growled. So, they want to play gods? He turned to his crew. Then we'll crush them like insects. His fingers hovered over the command. Ground invasion. And down below in the glowing valley, every hybrid child was awake, waiting. The stars had never been so quiet. It was the silence before a storm. Above the alien valley, the Order's warship prepared for its final move. Inside, soldiers in black armor loaded weapons, their boots echoing in cold steel halls. Drones powered up. Invasion codes were locked in. Commander Valek stood on the bridge, eyes cold and cruel. They've made their choice. Now we show them what happens to traitors of purity. Down below, the valley glowed with soft blue light. Children of 2 worlds stood side by side, hybrids, teenagers, and the oldest of the bound. They weren't armed with metal or guns. Their power came from somewhere else, inside them. Nira stood at the center, hands raised, face calm. I hear them, she whispered. They're almost here. Celine stepped beside her. Are you ready? Nira nodded. We all are. The ground began to rumble. From the dark clouds above, pods rained down, black metal shells crashing into the earth. The Order's soldiers spilled out, weapons raised. Their helmets scanned everything, Heat, motion, life signs. But something was wrong. Their signals broke. Their radios died. The closer they came to the village, the heavier the air became, like walking through water, like something was watching them. One soldier turned to run. His legs stopped working. Another screamed and dropped his weapon, crying as memories from his childhood flashed in his mind. Fear, regret, guilt. "What is this?" Valak shouted over the comms. "Report." In the village, the hybrid children were linked, mind to mind, heart to heart. Nira closed her eyes. She didn't want to hurt anyone, but she would not let her people die. With a single breath, she opened the connection wider, and the valley became alive. Vines moved on their own. The earth cracked, swallowing machines. The air shimmered like glass, bending light, confusing enemy eyes. One boy, Jalen, stepped forward. He raised his hand, and the enemy's drones froze in midair, their metal shaking as if they were afraid. Another girl, Mari, lifted the injured without touching them, guiding them to safety with invisible force. They were no longer just children. They were the voice of both worlds. Cal Devrin watched from a cliff. He had never believed in miracles. But now, as hybrid teens stood like glowing guardians, pushing back trained killers without killing, he felt something in his chest. Hope. Commander Valak watched in rage. "Kill them all," he roared. "Burn the forest if you have to." But his soldiers couldn't reach the village. Every step forward ended in confusion. Some wept, some dropped their weapons and fell to their knees. One whispered, "I saw my mother. She forgave me." Back inside the psychic ring, Nira trembled. It was working, but it was hurting them too. The link was too strong. Her nose bled. Her knees shook. "I can't hold it," she whispered. Then a hand touched her shoulder. It was Cal. "I'll carry some of it," he said. "You're not like us," she said softly. "I don't have to be," he replied. "I choose to stand with you." The ring grew stronger. Celine joined. Rylan joined. Parents, elders, even the youngest child added their energy. It wasn't just hybrid power anymore. It was human will, alien spirit, and love. The warship above cracked. Its engines failed. Something inside the ship, something emotional, something unknown, was infecting their AI. The order's systems were built for control, not for feeling. Now they were breaking. Commander Valak shouted his last command. "Withdraw. Get us out of here." But it was too late. His soldiers dropped their helmets. Some walked toward the village, hands raised. When the sun rose the next morning, the battlefield was silent. Not a single death. No blood. Just weapons on the ground. And a valley still glowing with life. The children sat in a circle. Their eyes were tired, but their hearts were strong. They had not just survived. They had changed the rules of the galaxy. Forever. Peace didn't come with a flag, it came with silence. The kind of silence after a storm. When the ground is still wet. When hearts are still beating fast. When everyone looks at each other and asks the same quiet question. Are we still alive? Yes. They were alive. More than that, they had won. The Galactic Purity Order had left the skies. Their warship limped away, damaged not by weapons, but by something they didn't understand. Something they couldn't fight. Unity, love, and hope. In the center of the village, the people gathered. Humans, hybrids, and aliens alike stood side by side, no longer afraid. The children who had once been hidden now played in the open. There, laughter was a song the stars hadn't heard in centuries. Captain Rylan stepped forward. He looked different now, less soldier, more guardian. This colony was once lost, he said, but it found something far greater than survival. He looked at Nira, standing proudly beside Celine and Cal. It found the future. The council hall was open to all races now. No secrets, no borders. Cal Devrin took off his old uniform and placed it in a fire. From its ashes, he built something new. He asked to stay. Not as a guest, not as a spy, but as a father. He had fallen in love with the people, the land, And most of all, the girl who had once said, "He doesn't really want to hurt us." Nira watched him every day after that, not with fear, but with trust. In the Kia cliffs above the valley, a new beacon was lit. Not a distress signal this time, but an invitation. Rylan recorded the message himself. To anyone listening in the stars, we are the bound. We are human. We are alien. We are one. If you seek war, turn back. But if you seek family, come home. The signal spread across the galaxy. Some ignored it. Some feared it. But some followed it. Within months, new ships began to arrive, not with guns but with gifts. Refugees, outcasts, lovers who had no place in a divided galaxy. They all came, carrying hope like seeds. The valley grew. Homes expanded into shining hills. The heart chamber became a school. The children who once hid in shadows now taught others how to heal, how to connect, how to dream. No one was forced to look alike. No one had to fit in. They simply belonged. Years passed. Celine grew older, her eyes still bright. Captain Rylan retired beneath the twin suns, a grandfather to all. Cal and Nira stood at the edge of a cliff, watching their own child, a boy with golden skin and starlight in his eyes, take his first step. Will the galaxy accept him? Cal asked. Nira smiled. He won't wait for permission. And above them, the stars blinked once more. But this time, they were not silent. They carried a new story, not of war, not of fear, but of a lost colony that didn't just survive. It became the heart of a new galaxy,